Hi, my name is Jack Rotolo. I am a college chapter development consultant for the Bridge USA national team, and I'm going to be leading a training in meetings today. So, as a chapter president or chapter leader, you will likely have plenty of meetings. You'll have board meetings, you'll have regular discussion meetings, you'll have events. And this training is meant to help you understand the different types of meetings, what those meetings should entail, and how you can run those meetings successfully and with accountability. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. So there's going to be two types of different meeting variations that you'll likely encounter as a Bridge USA chapter leader. First one being a regular meeting, which is essentially a discussion meeting. That's the bread and butter of Bridge USA operations. You want to make sure you're having those regular discussion meetings with a topic, and these are open to the general public. So you want to ensure everyone is working on the same page about the directions and workings of the chapter. Give chapter updates. Let your general members know what's going on under the rock behind the scenes, and use it really as an opportunity to talk to people and build a community with people that you don't usually work together with. So you're working in addition to people of your board, you're meeting these general members, and you want to make sure you're building that community and and really trying to grow your chapter that way. Also know your team and know your general members. Provide a space and time for a serious discussion, but also make it a relaxed environment. And making sure people don't feel too stressed or too inundated into the topic. You want to create a welcoming environment for everyone in that chapter. You also want to make sure you're setting the tone for your meeting and building a community, making it fun. It doesn't have to be the most serious thing every time. If you're having a lighthearted topic, then maybe you don't need to moderate as hard. If it's a more serious topic, maybe you do need to moderate. But make sure you just adjust your tone, adjust the moderation style to the topic of the meeting, and really always strive to build that community within your chapter. The second type of meeting variation here is going to be a board meeting. And these are your planning meetings, essentially, with your board or your committee members or all of the above. So in these types of meetings, you want to make sure everyone has completed their tasks and the organization is working together as a whole, and there's a single driving force behind that organization and behind what all your board members are doing. So you want to frame your questions and answers in the broader vision of your chapter, especially as a president or chapter leader. You want to make sure you're driving towards that mission and driving your board members towards that direction. You also want to make sure that you're determining the direction for the next week, voting on choices that are contentious. Oftentimes it'll be more unanimous, but sometimes you'll have more contentious decisions to make about topics of discussion meetings or certain changes within your organization, whether it's hiring another member or something like that. These are the kinds of choices you want to vote on as a board, especially as a president. You're only voting in the case of a tie, so let your board members really speak their purpose and have a drive towards that mission as well and have agency within that mission. Another purpose of the board meetings is so you can reflect on past events, what worked well, what didn't work well, and then really drive those improvements towards your next meeting, and so you can implement these improvements and implement these new policies for your future meetings and your future board meetings. You also want to make sure that you're setting completion dates for your tasks, have a task sheet if possible, just making sure that every board member knows what is expected of them, what their responsibilities are before the next board meeting. And these meetings usually happen once every 2 weeks. Some chapters do them once every week, depending on how large your chapter operations are and how much support you need for your chapter operations. And these meetings are all about efficiency. You want to make sure you're driving towards your goal, setting an agenda, and making sure you get that agenda complete. And we'll talk more about agendas in just a second. Most importantly about running these board meetings, as president and chapter leader, you'll be running these board meetings especially. You want to make sure you're having consistency of systems and accountability. And what does that mean? First and foremost, have a consistent meeting and agenda format. Set consistent expectations. If every single week it's expected of the media manager to create a poster or post on Instagram, make sure that's a consistent expectation and make sure they're aware of that expectation and that they can rely on that task to be done week after week after week. Set a time and day, if possible, for these tasks. Like I said, to set consistency and make sure people are understanding what they need to do and when they need to do it. Creating an agenda with listed action items and due dates, like I just said. This can be in an agenda, this can be in a separate spreadsheet, just something where board members can reflect and learn what they need to do and when is it due. In board meetings, don't deliver on promises, or don't make promises you cannot deliver on. It's easy to say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, and set really lofty goals and expectations. But know what's in your means and know what you can deliver on and what you can't deliver on. And if you can't deliver on certain things, make sure that is made clear. You also want to make sure you're acting on repercussions if you do threaten them. If a board member doesn't show up a few times during the school year for board meetings, and you set that you threaten them with, we're going to kick you off the board, we might vote to kick you off the board if you don't keep showing up. If they don't show up, have that vote. Be ready to act on your on what you say and what you warn against board members. And most importantly, remember that you do have authority as president to act, and some decisions, such as interboard conflict, should be decided by a president. You don't want to bring the drama of interboard conflict back to the board, or else it'll just explode. So make sure you're nipping that in the butt. If you have any kind of interboard conflict or drama, other decisions such as questions about an event, what kind of topics you want to do for your discussion meetings, these are board decisions, and these are the decisions you can either just vote on, or if it's a unanimous decision, you can just do that as well. Most importantly, about having systems and accountability, especially as a president, is knowing that leaders and presidents are held to the same standards as other board members. Presidents have tasks they have to do, they have due dates, and they have to fulfill those tasks, and everyone is relying on the presidents to keep the whole thing together. So it's important to remember that you're all held to the same standards and you're all equals within this organization. In terms of meetings and creating this consistency, you're going to want to create an agenda. And there's two agendas here to the left. You can see there's one from Bridge NCSU and then one from Bridge Pittsburgh. These will be linked down below if you would like to make a copy, look at these and how different chapters structure their agendas. But these are just great ways to know what was talked about in a meeting and what needs to be done. If you don't write something down in a meeting, then it doesn't exist. Don't assume, especially don't assume that board members know everything that you talked about, because they're most likely going to reflect on these agendas so they can drive the mission forward. Always have a paper trail. Include sections for old business and new business. That goes to of reflecting on the past. If you're going to reflect on a past event, that's old business. Old business can be like, okay, we implemented this policy last week, we tried this moderation style, how did that moderation style play out in an actual discussion? If it went well, you can move that change into new business. But definitely make sure you have a section for old business to reflect and try to grow. You're also going to want to prioritize near future events and hold additional board meetings if necessary. Sometimes you can create an agenda that might be 5, 6, 7 pages long and you can't get to all of them. You simply can't get to all the agenda items because you don't have enough time. So you want to make sure you're prioritizing what needs to be prioritized, whatever that means for your chapter. And if you need to hold an additional board meeting, do so. Like I said, there are some sample agendas to the left there. They'll be linked in the bottom of this video as well. And something you want to think about as you're creating your agenda, structuring your meetings, is how do you manage your meetings? What structures work well for you, and what can you improve upon? It's different for everyone, but having a consistent structure and a consistent agenda format is crucial to the organization of your chapter and the success of your chapter. So with that, let's do a quick knowledge check of what we learned today. Why does consistency matter in your internal operations? A, board members will know what is expected of them, and it is easy to identify who is not completing their tasks. B, because you can fire the board members who are failing to complete their tasks. C, it allows the chapter to rinse and repeat its operations and settle into their groove without growing much more. Or D, because it is much easier for the president to complete his or her tasks. And I'm going to pause the video here. If you would like to have time to reflect on these answers before I go to the next slide with the answer. Okay, so the answer is going to be A. Why does consistency matter in your internal operations? It's because board members will know what is expected of them, and it is easy to identify who is not completing their tasks. And having a specific place where board members can go back and reflect on what they need to do and when they need to do it is definitely important as well. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining me for this training, and I hope you learned something. Thank you.